Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of Q and DJ. On today's episode, we're going to be addressing Leah's question. She's one of my viewers. Leah asks what my thoughts are on the killing and eating of animals from a biblical perspective. She also asked if I watched the movie Dominion, which is a movie on YouTube that's available for free. It's 2 hours in length. It's a documentary that shows animal cruelty. That's how I would best describe it. There is a link to that movie in the description below. I'll also throw a card up here so that way you can click on it easily for your viewing pleasure. But so today I'm going to address that question, so thank you, Leah, so much for asking that question. And if you're interested in this topic, stay tuned. So guys, I want to welcome you to the HomeGrown Ministries YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's DJ, and on this channel I provide Bible study videos, words of encouragement, and answers to any of your questions like this one from a biblical perspective. So if you like what you see here today, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that way you don't miss any content in the future. So to start this conversation, I want to start with the movie Dominion. It's a very hard watch. It's 2 hours in length and just really shows how animal agriculture is done in the world and how cruel we are to animals in the world. This, in my opinion, shows our sinful nature. It shows how sinful humans can be. Because watching the video, there are people that work in these farms that have no care for life. They have no compassion. They have no understanding of the pain that they're causing or care for the pain that they're causing to these animals. And it's very, very hard to watch. It also shows our ability to justify sin because, again, those people in that video, that's their daily living. That's what they do. And some of them do it with joy in regards to being cruel to these animals. And it hurts my heart because these people don't see these animals of having a purpose other than being food, which is why they're able to treat them the way in which they treat them. So it really just highlights our ability to justify our own sins. But the one cool thing that the one cool takeaway I took from this movie is that it really shows evidence for God. Because a non-Christian can watch this video and have pain in their heart. And they have that pain in their heart because they were made by a creator with the understanding that all life has meaning and purpose. And all life should be treated with respect. Where if you take an atheistic worldview, you can view life as stardust. And if it's just stardust, killing a cow is no different than destroying a rock or pulling up a blade of grass and not letting it live any longer because you chose to do so. Because it's just stardust, what's it matter? Where you look at this and you say, this is truly wrong, that to me is because a God does exist, and that God did create us, and wants us to show respect to life. So I think that's cool because I think anybody can watch this video and question the idea of God, question the idea of a creator, and question the idea of a standard for morals. So one of the most interesting things that I learned from this movie, Dominion, is that the idea of free-ranged food means pretty much next to nothing. And that was something that really caught my interest because when my wife and I go grocery shopping, we typically try to pay a little bit more to get the free-range stuff because we think that those animals are treated better. But this video really shows that that's not true. And again, if you haven't watched the video, please do so. I encourage you to do so. It will move you in some fashion. At least that's my hope. But my biggest critique of the movie Dominion is that there's no resolution. You get all the way to the end, and really it's probably done this way, but it's done in a way to make you think. It's thought-provoking, but it doesn't provide a resolution. It doesn't say, hey, we think veganism is the best, or we think this is a better option. It provides no option. It just shows the bad, and I think that's where they missed a step. I think the producers of this movie should have provided some form of resolution or some option for the viewer to support. Now, a lot of people will watch this movie and say, hey, I'm going to be vegan, and we're going to talk about later in this video whether or not that truly resolves the issue. But before we get there, I want to talk about what does Christianity say about this. Now, understand that these are DJ-isms that you're going to hear here. So these are things that I'm going to point out passages of Scripture to talk about what I think it says, but this is not necessarily standard. This is not necessarily what every Christian believes. This is just my own personal view of my faith. So first and foremost, from the Garden of Eden until the flood, I believe that we, the human race, were not meat eaters. I believe that God created us with the intention to eat fruits and vegetables and live off of the land without killing other life. And here's why. So in Genesis chapter 1, 29 through 30, God is telling us what we have as food. And he says, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. And that's where God stops. God doesn't say, I also give you those beasts of burden. I also allow you to eat the meat that is provided for you on these animals. He doesn't say that. He stops at the food being what is on plants that produce seeds. Now, whenever the fall of man happens and Adam and Eve realize that they're naked, they cover themselves with fig leaves. Genesis chapter 3 verse 7 says, Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. They didn't go out and kill an animal. They didn't make clothing out of skin because that wasn't their practice. Their practice was to use the land around them and to not harm animals. Then, when God finds them and realizes that they have sinned against him, he takes a life to cover their sin, because all sin in God's eyes is punishable by death. Instead of killing Adam and Eve, something else had to die to pay for their sins. So in Genesis chapter 3 verses 21, it says, The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. So he made those garments because the fig leaves were not enough to cover their sin. But the skin of an animal, so the life of another animal, covered that skin, and that leads into animal sacrifices later on in the Old Testament, which is what you'll see. Because again, all sin leads to death. Now, why I say it's from the Garden of Eden through the flood is it's not until after the flood that God actually tells his people, tells Noah specifically, that he's now allowed to eat meat. So in Genesis 9, 2 through 5, it says, The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth, and on all the birds in the sky, and on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal. And from each human being too, I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. So understand, at this point, God is allowing Noah and his sons to eat meat. But he's telling them not to eat meat that still has lifeblood in it. And he's also telling them that even though they're allowed to eat meat, they're still going to have an accounting for the life that they're taking. So although God is allowing it, he's not saying that it's something that we should do willy-nilly, or we should do in mass quantities like we do currently, or do it without care or compassion. He's telling us that we will be responsible for the life that we take. Now, further on in Exodus 16, when God provides for the Israelites in the desert, in the wilderness, he provides not only manna, which is bread, but he also provides quail. And he does that so that the way the Israelites can still eat meat. So, do I think that God is okay with us eating meat? Yes. Do I think that that's how it was originally intended? No. And so there's the catch. And I do believe that we should strive to live as we were created. The question really is whether or not it's sustainable in our current environment. But before I get there, what I really want to stress is that this movie, in my opinion, is way more about the dangers and destruction of capitalism than it is about animal cruelty or veganism. Because, you see, if you're a vegan, I 100% support you. I think that's awesome. I think if you are called to be a vegan, I think that's great. And please do so. Please do that, because that's what I believe we originally created to be. I don't think I could ever be vegan. I personally, even after watching that video, I thought, my first thought was, I still really enjoy meat, and I would have a hard time giving that up. So what is another way that I can still consume meat in some fashion that's not cruel like this is? Now, the other thing I want to say is that by being vegan, if that's your response to this movie, you are no longer contributing to the problem, which again, great thing, but you're not solving it either. You see, the world is corrupt, and they're corrupted by greed, and the reason why these animals are being treated so cruelly is because we're trying to find ways to make as much money as possible. So we're not treating the animals the way in which they should be treated in order to produce what we need them to produce. We try to produce mass quantities, which is why things like the chickens and the turkeys are grown to a weight that is unable to be supported by their own legs. It's our greed that's doing it to those animals. Now, there are probably better ways to do that. The human heart is still corrupt, so even if every person on this planet watches that video and then chooses to become vegan, there's still going to be problems, and there's still going to be animal cruelty. It's just not going to be in that particular fashion. We're still going to destroy land to mass produce crops that it's going to affect animals in some fashion. Look at the housing industry. Just across the street, we had a whole forest deforested so we could put in 290 more homes that are, 4 bedrooms. And people that are retired are going to buy these homes who don't need 4-bedroom houses. But this is our nature. Our nature is to destroy. Our nature is sinful, and it's unfortunate. So my opinion says that veganism is not the answer. You're not contributing to the problem, which is great. Again, that's wonderful, but it's also not the answer to the problem, because also the other thing to note is that there are going to be people that are going to watch this video and not care. They're not going to care at all. And how I know that that is true is that the video records people treating those animals poorly, and they're laughing about it because they don't care. And that's important for you to know, is that we need to find a way to correct this problem that still allows people to eat meat, because you're never going to convince the whole world that eating meat is wrong. It's just not a physically possible option. So what can we do? My perspective, first and foremost, each person should find that balance. If that means you're called to be a vegan, awesome. But if you're not, like myself, I don't feel even after watching this movie that I can be called to be a vegan. I don't think that I could do it. But I'm going to make attempts to live my life differently, and my wife and I have already done something like this. We purchased a quarter of a cow from a local farm. I know how those cows there are treated. I know how they're raised. I can go there today and see the cow. And I'm only purchasing what I need. The other 3/4 of the cow are going to other families. So instead of having one cow or cows that are being mass produced for, a burger chain or something like that, these cows are being raised in a way that I think is ethical, that I'm then able to use and not waste any of that material. So what I'm really getting at here is this movie is calling me to be a conscious consumer. It's calling me to be respectful of the things that I purchase. Now, how do we affect the rest of the world? That's what I think you should take from personally. Find a way to find that balance in your life. Find a way to live the way you want to live and still do it in an ethical way. But then beyond that, we need to proactively ask our lawmakers to make laws that prevent these things from happening. That's hard, because consumerism is truly our culture, and laws that are enforced to provide ethics to these animals are going to possibly cost these businesses to not make money, and if they don't make money, they're not going to produce that. So then, yay, right? Because then everybody's going to be forced into being a vegan. But again, those business people will then just destroy the environment in another fashion. It's unfortunate. So we have to find that balance. And that's really my overall opinion of this particular movie and of this particular topic. Again, if you feel called to be a vegan, that's great. But the world is not going to go that direction. Even if it did, you would still have other issues that would come from that. So that's my summary of this movie, how I feel about it. Leah, hopefully that answers your question. Guys, I do encourage you to watch that movie. Again, links down below. Check it out, see what you think, have an emotional reaction to it, have a logical reaction to it, and try to make the world a better place. Guys, if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see me address any other topics or questions from a biblical perspective, please leave a comment below, and I'm happy to make a future video about that topic if I haven't done so already. And last, and certainly not least, Christians, friends, please go out and encourage someone else today. Be the light to this world. Be the salt of the earth, because the world desperately needs it. I love you guys. I love you so much. I can't express how much I care for you. You're all made in the image of God. And if there's anything I can do to encourage you, let me know. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.